Welcome to Speaking Cinema Series Movie Jibber Jabber, a movie podcast breaking the fourth wall, being meta, live right here in Hollywood, California, from my small one-bedroom apartment. Reality for ya.
It's real, folks.
Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr. Listen to us Jibber Jabber on Stitcher, SoundCloud, and iTunes. I am your host with the mouth, Mr. Jibber Jabber. With me today, as always, is everyone's favorite deformed mercenary, Kevin.
I've got the creams. Gonna make myself look better, so I'm not so ugly. Working on it.
This week on the Jibber Jabber, badass, smartass, great ass. 2016's highly anticipated Deadpool. Continuing our series of gibbering about current films, the first current film of 2016. Starring Ryan Reynolds, Mauricia Barracan, TJ Miller, Gina Carano, and Brianna Hillenbrand. Directed by Tim Miller. Directorial debut.
Impressive.
Screenplay by Paul Wernick and Rhett Reese. Based on the characters created by Rob Liefeld and Fabian Nizera. Produced by Marvel and TSG Entertainment. 20th Century Fox picking up distribution. If you're not familiar, a former Special Forces agent is subjected to experiments that give him extreme healing powers but leave him disfigured. He adopts the alter ego Deadpool and hilarity ensues, parentheses, presumably.
So we're assuming. It's certainly marketed like hilarity ensues.
I'm gonna not lie to you, Kev. I'm gonna be disappointed if there was not hilarity that had ensued. Not only after he gets deformed into powers, but really before too.
Agreed.
Deadpool was created by Rob Liefeld and debuted in comic books as part of the X-Men spin-offs The New Mutants and X-Force. It wasn't until the late 90s that Deadpool was developed as a Bugs Bunny type wackadoo. His popularity persona spiked there amongst cult comic book fans. They really do love their Deadpool.
Yes, they do.
The character first premiered on screen in the 2009 X-Men Origins Wolverine, also played by Ryan Reynolds, with the idea that he would get his own origin movie. However, the character was portrayed as mute and more of a generic killing machine than anything the comic book fans cared to love or be interested in. Also had weird claws, if I'm not mistaken.
And he had really long swords that, came out of his arm. Needless to say, not actually Deadpool.
And needless to say, fans were unhappy. That movie was not received well, and the character was shelved by Fox. Reynolds promised fans that he was working on bringing a faithful adaptation of Deadpool to the screen. Financing for the project was hard to come by in the early going. Test footage, though, had been leaked online. Fox gave them a little bit of money to shoot a test, shot the test, they shelved it, it was leaked somehow, quote unquote, and the fans were very enthusiastic and the movie was greenlit. The script also leaked at some point too, although I don't remember hearing about that in reading for this episode that apparently came out. Apparently this version of the movie that we're going to see is very similar to the version that leaked.
Huh, interesting. Yeah, I'd only obviously had seen the leaked footage, hadn't heard about the script.
And I have not seen the leaked footage, which is interesting because I'm like, how come I haven't seen that?
I don't know. You're behind the 8 ball on that one.
Well, we'll take it to YouTube after this. Reynolds says that the response to the leaked footage was 100% the reason why the movie got made at all. Reynolds also said that there are 4 suspects to who leaked it, the 2 writers, director, and him, and of them all, he's 70% sure that he was not the person who did it.
70, huh?
But he said a solid 70.
That's a C. I don't trust that at all.
Reynolds said that Fox cut $7 million from the budget days before they started shooting, but eliminating some of the scenes really tightened up the movie and actually ended up making it a better movie.
You'd be amazed how much more streamlined you can get when you have to cut out, in my screenwriting class, we were always told to kill the baby, kill the thing you like the most in it, and you might see that it actually improves the flow of your story.
But at the same time, if you're getting rid of your motorcycle chase scene, you might not have an action enough movie to be called an action movie.
It's true. So.
But we'll see how it all goes. As of this recording, Deadpool's playing in a theater. Go see it. $6 Sour Patch Kids. You're going to buy them. Movie theater in LA, $17 at the ArcLight. It's very expensive.
Whew.
But we're going to go see it.
At the Hollywood ArcLight.
Yeah.
My Culver City ArcLight, it's like 14.
Also, the Hollywood ArcLight is now letting you drink, and I'm sure this is riveting to no one, is letting you drink now in the theater.
Oh, we can do that at Culver City.
I don't support this in Hollywood. Hollywood is not mature enough to drink in a movie theater.
Us sophistos on the west side, we can handle it.
Listen, a lot of old people in Culver City. Let them drink.
They all go to the Landmark, though.
It's true. Kev, familiar with Deadpool?
Yes, even though I've never read one of his comics.
Samesies. He's someone that you just know about.
You just know he exists.
And he's not in the cartoons or anything either.
No.
He's in the video games, though. He's in Marvel vs. Capcom, I think, 4.
Yeah, he's definitely been in things outside of the comics. But yeah, he's just big enough that you know who he is, but he's just cult enough that he's not completely overdone, you know. And yeah, I'm completely aware of him, his whole... the meta commentary, the extremely goofy humor, the potty mouth, of course, and but yeah, never actually picked up a Deadpool comic and read it.
So that being said, all this meta stuff and humor and all that kind of stuff, do you think that would appeal to someone outside of comic book fans? Because he's very meta and self-referential about comic books. Do you think that your average movie-going fan is going to like that?
I think we're to the point where superhero movies are kind of ubiquitous enough that he can be meta about the movie adaptations of it, and your general audience is going to get it. That's my theory, at least. We'll see how the box office goes, of course.
And I think that, well, fuck it, who cares about the box office? But I think that the character is supposed to be fun. So if the movie is fun, then it will work, right?
Nobody hates having fun.
Well,
except,
you'd say that, but then go on the internet for 10 minutes and you're like, oh, yeah, you guys all hate having fun.
Yep.
Hey, we're gonna make something. It's gonna be cool. No, lame.
Hate it. Yeah.
Ruined it. Ruined the franchise.
Raped my childhood.
Yeah.
Killed my dreams.
I hate women. What? Oops.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
It is the internet. Wow.
There it is. Are you hyped personally to see this movie?
I am tepidly hyped. Tepidly, because it's not. I get why the fans would want a proper adaptation. That X-Men Origins movie sucks. It's so
to
bad.
quote one, Kevin, it's pretty bunk.
It's pretty bunk. I mean, that movie is bunk as hell. But I think we've kind of reached a point where we know the genre of the superhero movie, we know the formula, we know the tropes, that we can have a Deadpool type character now. Because if he came out 10 years ago, or 10 or 5 years ago, what movies is he going to be really parodying? You've got Spider-Man, Superman, and then the very beginnings of Christopher Nolan's Batman universe.
That's a great point, actually. I never thought about that.
And it's there's only so much material. It's how can we parody this, But now we have the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe.
That's a good point.
Man of Steel.
And it's in multiple iterations of these things.
Exactly.
Well, in the third phase of the Marvel Super Universe, we got Batman vs. Superman, that universe revving up, and then there's a bunch of TV properties now. See, that's interesting.
We've got X-Men is kind of its own little universe, also owned by Fox.
Yeah, true.
This is supposedly taking place within that universe, but is also
we'll see how much. We'll see how much that is, though.
Yeah.
But actually, that's really interesting because you look from what we said in the first half. You would think that these people are victims of circumstance, right? This shitty movie derailed it. They got pushed back a couple of times. Fox didn't think the test footage was good enough. But when you think about it, maybe it just didn't make sense to make this movie until now.
Yeah, I mean, we really needed something to just even cull from because you can't just make fun of something that's not there.
Speaking of making something that's there, are you a fan of Ryan Reynolds?
Not really, to tell you the honest truth. I know there are certain people in my house that would disagree who are very big fans of Ryan Reynolds because he's cute.
I think there's some people also who live in my house,
quote unquote, has abs and is muscular.
I feel like we're delving into some TMI business right now.
That's what the ladies like,
Ladies like abs and what was the other thing you said?
He's just muscular.
Let me write this down.
Muscular.
You give me a lot to think about. No, I think my girlfriend also likes Ryan Reynolds. I like Ryan Reynolds. I mean, he's been in numerous bad comic book movies.
Blade 3, one of the greatest offenders, I would say.
Blade 3 was pretty bad. Green Lantern was pretty bad. X-Men Origins Wolverine was pretty bad. But, and then he was in R.I.P.D., which is not a comic book movie, but I didn't see it. It was not well received, and it was kind of dumped by the studio, which is a bad sign.
Yep.
And I think he kind of had a clear career slump. Started turning it around with a couple of movies, I think most notably Woman in Gold, which is more of a awards style movie, but didn't get any nominations. But that
Is
was
that the one with Helen Mirren?
Yeah, and he's trying to recover stolen Nazi art.
Yep.
Very
yeah,
tough.
that one. That trailer from the get-go was like, this is pure Oscar bait, and then nobody took the bait. So, interesting.
Well, I think a lot of movies are like, you try for that kind of thing, but it doesn't work. But, whatever. They're adult movies, you know what I mean? I'm more interested in comic book shit.
There you are.
Like Deadpool. So, he said that this is a passion project of his. He worked on it for 10 years. I'm down. Like, I'll welcome him back if he doesn't want to, make shitty movies anymore. I get it. And, I guess he's kind of called out the Green Lantern director. I guess he didn't get along with the director from the Green Lantern, and he was like, that movie was that guy's fault. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah, there's lots of bickering about that Green Lantern movie, about what it should have been and what it became.
And so yeah, I got nothing against Ryan Reynolds. I want to see him do good. I got nothing.
I
against
don't
him.
personally dislike him. Seems like a nice enough person. Had Scarlett Johansson and now has Blake Lively, and that's just not fair. But,
Well,
again, abs. And he's charming enough. I don't completely dislike him and actively avoid him, but I just don't find him to be as funny as he could be, So, but I don't wish any ill will on him, and hey, we're gonna go see Deadpool, his passion project.
right. And any man that can get Scarlett Johansson to send him nudes, more power to you.
Attaboy.
More power to you. Thoughts on meta humor in general?
It's a real fine line between just a lame crutch where you don't really do anything and you're just like, the idea that being meta is inherently funny, I think, is what a lot of things do. But then when you really take the tropes and really break the mold and find a way to comment on it that way, that's when it really succeeds.
Yeah. There's lots of examples of like it being done really badly. See, I think Adam Sandler's Going Overboard is like one of the worst ones. And that movie is just a goddamn mess.
Yep. But then you get something along the lines of, I would say, Hot Fuzz and Scott Pilgrim vs. the World are kind of meta movies in a way. Hot Fuzz being meta, looking at the tropes of the big Hollywood action movie and then putting them in this very small town British setting and then doing a really interesting plot around it is, I think that's kind of the right way to do it.
Yeah, I guess I'm expecting from this movie more meta, like breaking the fourth wall meta, which I don't think Scott Pilgrim or...
No, they don't break the fourth wall. Yeah. But they're knowingly doing certain tropes.
Right. I like that a lot. I think that could be done really well in good hands. And I think it's not hard to fuck it up, but if you're really into something, you always appreciate that. Like, last night we watched There's Nothing Out There, which is like a meta horror movie comedy where a guy...
Some would claim the first one.
Even the director said it wasn't the first one, but definitely a prototype. You know what I mean? And that movie is like, the plot of it is like a guy who watches a bunch of horror movies. They go to a cabin in the woods. He recognizes the signs of bad things happening. And I think that's fun. And even that movie, which is admittedly a 19-year-old's first movie, it still works. I think meta humor on that level works really well. I think breaking the fourth wall is when you can really mess up. You could go as good as Tiny Toons or as bad as Adam Sandler's Overboard. So we'll see. And that's what Deadpool has a reputation for doing that in the comic book. Well, he'll be reading the last issue or he'll be reading the next issue. And they go, you know what I mean? And he'll turn to the reader and reference the fact that they're in a comic book.
Yep.
Weird stuff.
It could so easily be abused, and it's really hard to pull off. And I'm hoping this one kind of sets a blueprint for how to do it correctly. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm hoping for.
Hoping for the best. Let's get out of here and go see this movie.
Here we go.
Here we go. And we're back.
We're back.
Fastest turnaround I think we've ever done on this show.
Boy, this just got in and out.
Where and when did you see it?
I saw it Thursday night, the day before it officially comes out, 7 p.m., Culver City ArcLight. Got a free souvenir Deadpool pint glass with the purchase of a beer.
What'd you get? Miller Lite? What's your beer? Bud? Champagne and beers?
No. What did I get? Some kind of white Rascal Ale, I believe it was called. You know, they have got some nice beers on tap at that Culver City ArcLight.
This podcast brought to you by ArcLight. ArcLight. a higher standard. I also saw this movie on Friday, but the real question is, how was your audience?
It was a good crowd. About what I'd expect. Mid to late 20s young males with a smattering of females. There was a few girlfriends dragged there, I could tell.
Okay.
But almost sold out. The 8 p.m. screening was sold out when I went to originally get my tickets. And, it was a very receptive crowd. They were totally hanging on every word of it. And it was a good time.
My crowd was good. Definitely sold out or full or whatever. Definitely a very mixed crowd. Women, kind of older people. A lot of diversity in it. Crowd really sucking up those jokes.
And one thing, there was a kid in a Deadpool costume. I would say probably 6 or 7 years old.
Oh,
full Deadpool costume.
yes.
I was like, that is great. Should you be here?
Here's the thing, Kev, and I'm just gonna admit this to you. If I ever had a kid, I would be that irresponsible parent taking a kid to a rated R movie.
I mean, if you're knowingly doing it and know what you're subjecting them to, it's different than the moron parents who just go because it's a superhero movie, and then they're the ones who are going to get offended because it has the word butts in it,
This movie has a little bit more than the word butts in it.
It got a few more words than butts.
It has some real butts in it.
Indeed. But it's like, if you're... To me, that's being responsible. It's like, you know what they're getting into.
Right.
And it's up to you as a parent to what your kid can handle and what they can't, and to educate them what's real and what's not.
Well,
And hey, that was a pretty authentic looking Deadpool costume this kid had.
Oh, really? That's good. Yeah, I went to when I was working in the movie theater. Kick-Ass had come out, and an ungodly number of parents were like, "Hey, my kids are in Kick-Ass. Where is that? I'm in something else." And I'm like, "Listen, dude, I'm not gonna get in the way of this." You know what I mean?
Hey, that was not your job.
To all those kids, I hope and pray that they will look back on that as a really fun, cool memory where my mom or dad negligently bought me a rated R movie ticket, and me and my brother or whoever went inside, and it was awesome.
Yep.
So good for them. Thoughts on Deadpool?
I enjoyed it.
I'm going to say that this movie is amazing. It went for it 100%, and that's the best description I can give it. It gives it 100%. Cartoon over-the-top violence, delivered. Humor, delivered. Self-awareness, delivered. Love story, delivered. Sexiness, delivered. It says, hey, we're going to be this, and then they fucking do it.
It does feel like there's not any interference from a higher power in it. It feels like this is the movie, for better or worse, they wanted to make the whole time.
This is completely true, and no more better personified than in the opening credits.
Yes.
Which is there's people, there's bodies, there's cars, and you're flying around it really close to everything. You're seeing cups.
It's like a frozen in time
image, and the camera's wandering through it all. And what you figured out is that it is a mid-car crash. Deadpool is attacking some people, and the car is flipping over in the middle of it, and it's frozen in the midair. And as we go around, there's just floating text everywhere, right? And it says, starring, some washed-up actor with a hot chick and a CGI monstrosity. And it's
and a gratuitous cameo. and directed by an overpaid tool.
And then written by the real heroes here.
Yep. Produced by some ass hat.
Yeah.
It gets you in the mode of the movie just straight off the bat.
Right, and it's really blasting everyone.
Yep.
So it's like, okay, so nothing is sacred, right?
Well,
the studio's not sacred, the actors aren't sacred, the people behind the camera aren't sacred.
And when they do Ryan Reynolds' credit, when it's like, starring some overpaid douche or whatever, and it immediately pans out to his People cover of like Sexiest Man Alive.
Right, which is in the car. Yeah.
Yep. And then there's the wallet with like him in a really shitty Green Lantern outfit.
Yeah.
It's like we're taking shots at everybody in the opening minutes.
We'll get to who they don't take shots at, which I want to talk to you about. And
for sure.
Maybe there's a technical reason for this and maybe there's not, but I want to let's table that for 1 minute.
There.
So, a lot of movies like pretend that they're edgy, but they're not, right? And I kind of feel like the Fast and the Furious movies do this a lot.
Oh, completely.
Where it's like, oh, dude, sexy. Like, look at these naked chicks. But it's like, the chicks are in bikinis. And it's kind of like weirdly gross because, like, the chicks are in bikinis, but the dudes are like wearing like shitty, baggy cargo shorts and like tank tops. You know what I mean? So it's like fair is not fair here. And in Deadpool, man, fair is fair.
It's a PG-13 edginess in those. Deadpool goes completely full-bore R rating.
Right. And there is a version of PG-13 edginess that is appropriately PG-13 edginess. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I hear that the Hunger Games Scorch Trials is like that, where it's a PG-13, but like it has like R-rated scares in it. It's like they really push that boundary. But I feel something like again, back to the Fast and Furious movies, which I don't hate. I think that they're fun for what they are, which is ridiculous bullshit. You know what I mean?
I will say I gave up after the fourth one, and apparently that's when they actually start getting watchable, so I need to dig into Fast 5.
I want to do Fast 5 for this podcast.
Hey, I'll do it.
But in terms of, especially in terms of human sexuality, I feel like those movies are really gross in a way where it feels exploitative. Whereas in this movie, violence and everything, but let's just focus on the sexuality really quick. I don't want to get into this. Like, it's like, it bugs me to no point when they have in a movie, they have a sexy character who is like uninhibited, quote unquote sexy character who's quote unquote uninhibited, who is totally inhibited in the movie, right? So it's like, in this movie, you have those characters who are sexy characters, but they are not inhibited, and they fully go for it. So like, Ryan Reynolds goes full Jason Segel to this movie. Although, when you see his wiener, it's not overtly sexual.
Yeah.
But they're not afraid to make jokes with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a great scene where...
You see his ass many times.
Yes, you do. There's a great scene where he's wearing a Christmas sweater and nothing below.
Yep.
And it's just like...
And they kind of hide it with their camera, and then it's revealed in a
and
really
it's revealed,
quick cut, and it's like, he's naked.
Yeah, you know, it's like, they really go for it. Also, Marina, his girlfriend...
And Marina Bacarian.
Yeah, who plays Vanessa... Also nude, and again, not in an exploitative way, but just like she's a stripper and a prostitute. Well, she's a prostitute then a stripper, so it's like, and
waitress at a strip club.
I feel like she just picked up a shift. I feel like she's stripping on normally.
All right.
But that's me. That's me editorializing. But like, you see her naked, it's not over the top. It's not for a prolonged period of time.
No.
But there's a hilarious joke where they're having sex on every holiday.
Yep.
So on Thanksgiving they're having sex and stuffing food in each other's mouths, and on Christmas they're like, I think underneath the tree or something. And
and then it's Women's Appreciation Day.
International Women's Appreciation Month, and she's has a strap on.
Yep.
Yeah, and all of this is played for humor, which I really like, right? It's played for humor. It's not like overtly sexy, it's just funny. And especially that scene is funny because you're like, wait a minute, what? And go ahead.
The scene where they meet, I think, was probably one of my favorites in the movie. When they're one-upping each other with how terrible their childhoods were.
Right.
She's like, I had to go sleep in a box of dishwasher soap, and he's like, oh, you had a dishwasher. That scene really gets you in the mode too of, we're not gonna hold anything back. We have no reason to. It's like, and that's why these people are kindred spirits. It's like she's as vulgar as he is, and like as twisted as he is, and that's why their relationship really gels, and why you really feel for him as the story goes on. It's not just something disposable.
Right. And also, we're not judging them. Like, they have these shitty childhoods. We don't know if they're joking around or not, right?
Yeah.
We assume that they don't have good childhoods, maybe not as bad as they're letting on. But the jokes that they're making aren't like, oh, pour me a drink, feel bad for me shit. It's like played for humor, and we never judge them, right? They're like these bizarrely, overtly sexual, weird people. But like, they're our heroes, and they're charming. And I like that a lot. And I feel like that is very skillfully done, and not a lot of movies know how to do that, where it's like, they don't know how to make a character. Like, her character is sexy and funny, and you root for her. And I think a lot of movies would be like, she's sexy and funny, but like, she's kind of a slut. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this movie never really goes down that road, much to its credit.
Yeah, agreed.
And also the scene where they're both wearing Christmas sweaters, totally Porky Pig style, with the thing, no body. It's just funny, man.
Porky Pig style.
Yeah, Porky Pig style.
I like that. Just ass hanging out.
So let's talk about the violence.
Some grade A gore in this movie, which I love.
Yes, I'm very glad
I am on record as saying I like me some grade A gore.
I'm very glad I didn't take Emily to this, because she would have hated the fuck out of this movie.
Most likely. I like the guy who gets splattered on the street sign. I was like, that's great. Plenty of decapitated heads. The hit really hard, like the bullet shots, and when the bullets hit, it's just like this good squish, and when bones break, it's just this good crack. You can just sink your teeth into it.
Right.
It doesn't hold back in that regard either. So yeah, it's just really good action and really cleanly shot too. Which, this is a first-time director. That's pretty impressive. He's doing shit better than some guys who've been in the game for a long time. Michael Bay.
It's interesting because, I guess for budget reason, like there's a recurring joke where he keeps forgetting his guns or his ammo.
Yeah.
And so that is because they didn't have the budget for all of that, so they had to like save money by having him just use his pistols and the swords.
Yeah.
But I feel like they always incorporated that into the bizarro-ness of the character really well, where it's like he has a Hello Kitty golf bag full of guns.
Yep.
It's just like, that's fun. You know what I mean?
It's a good time.
And they really sell you on this idea of Deadpool being just a wackadoo,
And turned into a wackadoo. Like, he had it in him, but then he goes through the torture, and he becomes, just gets that little extra push over the edge, and that's why he's so crazy, and believes he's in a comic book movie.
So the plot of this movie, he's a mercenary guy, gets cancer, gets turned into Deadpool, gets revenge on the guys who turned him into Deadpool, who tortured him to get him to go. I really liked how it incorporated into the X-Men universe, where the idea is that everyone has recessive mutant genes, so that they give you a serum that activates them, and then they stress out your body trying to make them come out.
And this is like the dark side of that part.
Right.
In X-Men...
That's alluded to.
Yeah. In like X-Men First Class, they're nurturing these guys. And then in this movie, they're trying to do the same thing, but they're literally torturing them to try and create an ultimate weapon. So that was a really interesting perspective on the mutant world that we've just never seen before.
Yeah, and it's interesting because, in the first half, we kind of thought, like, oh, how involved in the X-Men universe is it going to be? Because I didn't see the Fantastic Four movie, but apparently that one was supposed to be in the same universe as the X-Men universe, but it doesn't really ever come up.
Yeah.
No one's like, oh, and mutants and But this one is like, Professor X is name dropped, you know what I mean? And then, hilariously, he's like, who are you talking about?
McAvoy or Stewart?
I can't remember. I don't know where we are right now. That's really, that's really funny. And I really like that it is in that X-Men universe, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and it toes that fine line. It's in the universe, but also comments on it, and they kind of walk that line really well. They can make fun of it, but there's enough elements in it that it fits in with the story, so it doesn't feel like they're saying it's stupid or anything like that, but they're using it in an organic way. Colossus exists in this movie and in X-Men Days of Future Past. But they use him in a totally different way, but it is the same character, ultimately. Because the producers could afford it, as he says once.
Right, there's a joke that he keeps going to he goes to the mansion twice, and he's like, there's only 2 people in this gigantic mansion, as if the studio didn't want to pay for more mutants.
Yep.
Which is a great joke. Yeah, so I think plot-wise, it really delivers. Do you think that they successfully retrieved the Deadpool character and at the same time maybe introduced it to the new people?
Absolutely.
I agree.
It's completely, my understanding of who Deadpool is, how he operates. This is what they were trying to get all along,
And I don't feel like the meta humor that is skewering the Marvel universe, the Fox universe of superheroes and movies in general, I feel like all of that works. You know what I mean?
I do too. Yeah, it's, again, another fine line they walk. It's not, they never get to where it's just like, this is just a crutch, and just the inherent idea that we're being meta is funny. They're doing it in a funny way. He breaks the fourth wall, and then he breaks the fourth wall within his fourth wall, and then he's like, whoa, we just did a break fourth wall? That's 16 walls, and then just cut away to something else.
Right.
It's, they're really skillful with that. So.
Yeah, and it's having fun with the goofiness of the character. Like, there's he in the first scene, he captures the guy he wants, but then the guy gets away, and just his react, he puts his hand to his face like Macaulay Culkin style, and he's like, it's just like that response is just, I don't know, it really is a fun. It's like it definitely. There's no point in the movie where we're not having fun anymore. You know what I mean?
Exactly, and they kind of do keep that going for most of it. There is a lull in the middle, I think, though. It gets way too bogged down in the flashback, and I think it really fucks up the pacing of the whole movie. And to me, there was this. I was just thinking at this point, it's like this movie's kind of stalled a little bit. And I don't know if it's just solely because of the world building, or there just wasn't much funny happening in it, or that personality kind of just went away.
I get what you're saying. I feel like it did need to ground it in some sort of reality, you know what I mean? Or else the movie is just goofball for the sake of goofball.
For sure, but you don't need to kill the pacing in the process.
Well, they had to show Ryan Reynolds' wiener, so.
Well, yeah.
So we should say he's fighting with the bad guy Francis in a burning hospital, essentially torture place, and his shitty robe hospital robe catches on fire, and he rips it off, and then as they're fighting in the long shots, you can see his wiener. CGI wiener or real wiener?
I would do CGI and have him just add a little more something to it. If it was me.
No, that's what you would want. Do you think that's what happened?
But enough about me. I bet he let it all hang out. I think he did.
It's hard to say.
He's the producer on this movie.
I want to watch this movie with a commentary on and see what he says about that.
Do you think they'll do a commentary with him as Deadpool watching it? Or would that just be way too meta?
Yeah, they should.
It could work. It worked in the past for This Is Spinal Tap. That was always good.
They did it as the characters in the movie?
As the characters talking about it as if it actually happened. And it is quite enjoyable.
That's funny. Do you ever think this movie goes too far? The baby arm comes to mind.
See, I wanted more jokes like the baby arm. Because let me elaborate. I think some of the jokes in this movie are inherent on if just somebody swearing is funny. You know? That's where a lot of the gags come from. There is some creative swearing, but some of it is just the reason he is swearing is funny. And for a 14-year-old, that's hilarious. For a sophisticated 29-year-old, it's I could use something a little more. I want something twisted like the baby arm caressing the blind lady. I'm all for that. That's the kind of humor. And I think they could probably get away with that in a sequel. It's you do need to build somewhere to go. And if you really want to get the unhinged humor, let's get everybody into this character, and then let's go fuck ton crazy in Deadpool 2.
I do think that they go far with all the baby arm, they go far with it, but because the spirit of what they're doing is so much in fun, it doesn't feel shitty. You know what I mean?
No, it never feels shitty.
Yeah.
I just think sometimes it gets. I want it to be unhinged. I want it to go crazy, and I feel sometimes they do rein it in just a little bit. But then you get gags like his half-formed hand caressing the blind lady, and I was okay.
And to go back to what you just said, I do think that there are some scenes where, the joke is predicated the fucking guy got away, and it's emphasis on
the joke is that he said fucking.
And it's I do think that sometimes that did feel a little bit okay, that's not funny. You're going for something, but I'm not coming with you because I'm an adult. You know?
And he says stuff like ass hat and, all kinds of what's supposedly creative swearing. You could go way more creative with some of the swearing.
Yeah.
All you need to do is watch Veep to hear some creative swearing and know how funny you can make that.
And it's more fun when he's talking to Negatonic Teenage Wasteland or whatever her name is.
Negasonic Teenage Warhead.
And he's oh, I'm a teenage girl. I'm going to hit you with quiet. And then there's a really snarky comment. And then back to quiet. What do you got for me? And she's pausing, and she's nah, you got me there. Yep. And he's that to me is a much more fun thing to go down. Yeah.
So, just him saying shit and fuck and ass. Mm-hmm. It's that's only, you really got to deploy those in a right way, or it's just kind of whatever humor. Mm-hmm.
And I do think that the movie's more than just being goofy and there's a lot of it that's just being goofy and weird, but I do think that they're saying there is a point to the movie. They are saying something about a love story, and they are saying something about what it means to be a hero. In the end, he has Francis dead to rights, and Colossus is there's only 4 or 5 times in your life where you're an actual hero. Most times, you think that we're all heroes every day. You get up, be a hero, go sleep, be a hero, brush your teeth, be a hero. But it's there's only 4 or 5 times when you're really a hero. And I thought that was actually a very interesting, as a fan of comic book movies, really interesting way to put it, right? And presumably when you watch the movie's about that moment, as opposed to the rest of their time, which is not about that moment.
Yeah. And then he proceeds to break that moment by just killing him because he's like, I get what you're saying, but fuck that guy. And he didn't care. Like, his whole thing is that he doesn't care.
But then he did say, he's like, I'll try for the next, if I get 5 in a lifetime, then the next 4 I'll keep my eyes open for.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know. Another through line with this is that they want him to join the X-Men.
Yeah.
Do you think that that could be handled?
Not with the way the X-Men movies are structured, I don't think.
You don't think so?
You can't put him in Apocalypse or Days of Future Past. It's like, those movies have a much more grounded idea of what they're going for and a much more higher stakes story. Ultimately, Deadpool's story is he just wants his woman back, which is kind of refreshing, seeing that all the Marvel movies, the world is at stake.
I agree with you.
That gets exhausting.
Very personal. Yeah.
And this one is just, you did me wrong, I want revenge on you. And it's just a very simple superhero story.
Well, yeah, I mean, let's come back. Remind me to come back to how he fits in the world. But in terms of this, the what the movie is about thematically, it's a simple fable, right? It's like guy falls in love with girl, guy becomes a monster, thinks that girl won't take him back. Girl is threatened by evil, defeats evil, reunites with girl. Girl doesn't care that he looks personified perfectly in this movie. Which again, the movie never forgets what it is, right? So she's like, that's a face I could learn to love to sit on.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's fucking this movie, right? Where she would make that joke. You know what I mean?
After all the shit they went through, that whole base collapsing, her almost dying, and yeah, she can still just crack wise with like the perfect joke for their relationship.
Yeah.
It's just great. Going
back to him fitting into the Marvel Universe, this movie is obviously very much so from his subjective viewpoint, you know what I mean? And it's great for it. What I would think you would have to do, and I would actually like to see this, is if he is in the other universe, he is this bizarre, fucking out of place, weird thing. So I want to see it from the other side. This is how he sees himself. I want to see it from an outsider's perspective, where he's just weird, talking to himself, doing weird things, but pulling them off somehow. You know what I mean?
Like from Wolverine or Professor X's perspective?
Probably ideally from Wolverine's perspective, where he's like, this guy is crazy, and like, like he'll pull a sword out from nowhere, and it's like, but you kind of see it from a different perspective, where it's like, it's not from nowhere, it's like, it's, you know what I'm saying? You see it from the outside, and I think you could have a lot of fun with that disconnect. You know what I mean?
It could work. But I think I prefer this story from his point of view. I don't really want to see it like an outside view. I want to live in Deadpool's twisted head when I'm in a Deadpool story.
Well, when you're in a Deadpool story, what if you're in an X-Men story?
Nah, I want to keep the X-Men a little more separate.
What if it was X-Force? Because that's what they want to. They're saying they want to do an X-Force with Deadpool in it.
Yeah,
every studio is always saying they want to do an Avengers style movie, but no one knows how to do that except for Universal with the Fast and the Furious franchise. Call back. So presumably they want to build up to everyone in the X-Men universe in the Fox zones team up in a movie. So you might get it whether you want it or not.
I might get with it, and you know what? I'll buy that ticket. I'll be there.
I'll be there with bells on. I really don't know what that actually means. But.
Means you put on your fanciest bells.
Okay, so in the Rango episode, we talked about like the phases a genre goes through, where there's like the prototype and then
classic, revisionist, parody.
So, do you think there's a danger of jumping straight to parody like they did here?
Is this a parody? I don't feel it is.
It's kind of like it's. What do you think it is? Just meta?
I think it's a mix of parody and revisionist, where they're really trying to do something different while also commenting on what came before. Unforgiven wasn't commenting on every Western that came before it. It just flipped the script and lived in its own world, where the outlaw was the hero and the sheriff was the villain. And this is it's commenting on the world, but it is doing a somewhat different kind of story. Actually, I kind of take that back. Boiled down to its essence, it's a pretty rote origin story of a superhero. But they have the added layer, let's call it a drag queen layer, of the bonkers Bobo for weirdness stuff. Mm-hmm. And I said, parody, I don't feel like I don't ever get the sense it's totally making fun of the superhero genre. It's living in it, but just doing weird things.
I guess that's true, right? It's part of the bigger universe, and he's just a jokester, so he's making fun of those characters within the context of their own canon.
And it's not Blazing Saddles, which is openly commenting on things that are wrong with the Western genre, i.e. rampant racism.
Racism?
In a Western? Who'd have thought?
I don't know about that.
So, yeah, I don't want to call this movie a parody of superhero movies. It's just commenting on it in just such a way that it knows what it is and what it's doing, but is also sticking with a formula in a certain way. Because at some point, a parody blows up the mold of the story. Because in Blazing Saddles, it's revealed it's all a movie set, and they actually just go see their own movie. You know, that's blowing up the mold of how a Western would go.
Spoilers for Blazing Saddle.
for a 42-year-old movie?
Yep.
So yeah, I struggle to call this a parody.
All right, that you've convinced me. Yeah, okay, that's fair.
Yeah, I think, in fact, they tried to do a parody. Didn't they do Superhero Movie? Wasn't that a movie?
Yeah, the Weinstein put out. Yeah,
those horrible, the Setzler brothers, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck those guys.
Do you have any? You want to get into cool stuff and nitpicks?
Yeah,
or?
let's do it.
Cool stuff. Go. Everything.
Deciding his name, looks at the board, says Deadpool, and he goes, Captain Deadpool.
Yeah, no,
just Deadpool. Great.
Colossus stopping to let Gina Carano, Angel Dust, put her boob away.
Yep.
It's a really good joke. And again, because you've seen a strip club, because you've seen Monica, whatever, nude, you can get away with implying her nudity, and it doesn't feel like a cop-out.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And in that moment, Colossus feels embarrassed, so it kind of factors into that whole thing.
And yeah, because he's from the X-Men universe where that doesn't happen.
Right.
You know?
Right. Stan Lee's cameo as a fucking strip club.
And now it's chastity. It's like, good job, Stan Lee.
Yeah. Killing it.
TJ Miller was good as Weasel. I enjoyed him.
Yep, so really good.
Just funny and everything. Yeah, Morena Baccarin, surprisingly funny.
Morena Baccarin.
Yep.
I think she really stole this movie. When she was killing it, man. She was a really good she's a really good actress, and I mean, I don't know. She kind of puts a lot of the other and I hate to say it because I mean, you know, a lot of superheroes are about men and their lady love interests. Thor with Natalie Portman.
Iron Man with Pepper Potts.
Gwyneth Paltrow, yeah. And she, I think, is like, when she's upset, in the end, when she's upset at him, I mean, you believe her. You know what I mean?
You really do. It's like, yeah, you disappeared, and I never heard from you, and I thought you were dead. And, like, that crushed her, and it's that dynamic is really strong.
Yeah. Big fan of hers. Colossus, yeah, and then Colossus' speech where he says you only get 4 or 5 times to prove you're a hero in a lifetime.
Yep.
Like that a lot.
Very good, unexpected moment of clarity in the wackiness of Deadpool.
Right. And Deadpool's interaction with the X-Men universe, I feel like, was really well handled here.
Yeah, just enough hinting at it, but not completely imposing on it either.
And you get Colossus, and then you get the teenager, and I think that's a good balance. And the humor is good too, where she's like texting, and he's like, "Oh no, please send your tweet. I'm only trying to save the love of my life's life here." Also, the Indian cab driver stuff was really good.
I kind of wasn't big on the Indian cab driver.
I feel like it was. I
liked his first scene, his second scene when he's like, he captured the guy, and then the guy gets hit he's in the trunk, and he gets in an accident. I don't know. It kind of went a little too far.
I'm not going to disagree with you. That's totally fair. I just think that when he's like, I did not tell him to do this. You're doing the wrong thing. I support you. Like, you should just use the powers of your intellect and your charm and try to win her back the old-fashioned way. Kill him.
Yep.
That to me, that paid it all off. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The interaction is good. I think the cab driver character himself, he doesn't quite have the comedic chops to stand up with Deadpool.
Yeah, that might be fair.
I think. So.
That might be fair. Any nitpicks?
Can Marvel ever have a good villain in a movie? Because this guy was bland as hell. Ajax.
You know...
although they did get a good joke where he's like, he got his name from a dish soap.
Well, and I do think that because it's a personal story, in this case, it helps that it's just about him trying to get his girlfriend back, and there's lower stakes. So you don't need... I get what you're saying. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying, I think because there's lower stakes, it's not as, like, bad as, like, say, like Guardians of the Galaxy with, like, Ronin. You know what I mean? Where it's like...
See, I like Ronin.
Okay. Interesting.
I didn't like the Dark Elf in Thor 2. I thought was a very weak villain in an otherwise good movie.
Well, at least, I mean, I guess the focus is on the hero, so I guess that's good, though, right?
I mean, as they revealed in the post-credit scene, we are going to have Cable in Deadpool 2.
Are you a Cable fan?
I always liked him in the X-Men animated series.
But he was like, I need to save my future. But it's like, your future fucking sucks. Your future, everyone's dead and Sentinels have taken over the universe. Like, fuck your future. You're just stupid. So I don't know about... I mean, I think I have faith, based on this one, I have faith that they'll be able to pull it off.
Yeah.
But Cable himself does not sell me anything.
All right, fair enough.
I wish he got hit with bullets more, because they showed how, like, you know, he can heal.
Yeah.
So there'll be like 10 guys shooting at him, and he's like dodging all the bullets. I wish that just some of them hit him.
Yeah. I mean, he gets the one up the ass, and then he gets the one in his arm, and then that's kind of it, really. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I agree.
He doesn't get stabbed in the head with that knife, and that is great. When he sees him, his girlfriend on the ground, and then there's a bunch of cartoons.
Yep.
That's good.
I did like him breaking his hands trying to beat up Colossus.
Yeah.
As just good physical humor.
Mm-hmm. And here's my biggest nitpick. I mean, they make a lot of references. Maybe not all of them will hold up, but who cares? My biggest nitpick is that they didn't mention the Fantastic Four.
Yeah, they really could have.
And they could have made fun of how that movie flopped. They could have made fun of how, like, they want to be part of the universe, but, like, no one is going out to them.
Likes them, you know.
I mean, they could have made a whole thing. Say you put one of the characters, you know, Sue Storm or Johnny Storm in the movie, and it's like, and then, you know, he could be like, you know how it is, you guys, like, the X-Men keep reaching out to you to join. They're like, no one's reaching out to me to join. You're like, ooh.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's a wasted opportunity. I don't know.
It's like, and Fox has already shelved that sequel and has already kind of counted its losses. It's like, you might as well have a little bit of fun with it.
Well, the only thing I was thinking about is that maybe that movie hadn't come out at that time, and when they were shooting this movie.
That's true.
So maybe it was just at an awkward angle. You know what I mean? But I really wish they could have been in that.
Just a little Fantastic Four dig.
Right.
Would have been nice. I agree.
That's it, though.
Yeah.
And maybe...
So, yeah, the nitpicks, again, they're nitpicks. It's overall, this is a pretty successful film. It's not perfect. In terms of funny superheroes, I think it's way better than Ant-Man, but not as good as Iron Man 1. I want to put it, like, right in the middle there.
I don't want to compare it to anything. I think it's its own thing.
It is its own thing. But, yeah, in terms of, like, just the funny superheroes, I think it fits right in there with the potential to be really great. You know, I'll be first in line to see Deadpool 2.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Also, that post-credit scene, Ferris Bueller shout out.
Yeah, that was good.
Love it a lot.
I was a little bit disappointed with that because I wanted them to build something more.
But as soon as I saw the hallway, I was like, oh, they're doing Ferris Bueller. And then he comes out in the bathroom.
So, I mean... redundant at this point, but do you like this movie and does it work?
I do like this movie. Don't quite love it.
Really?
Don't quite love it.
What?
Don't quite love it.
We just spent 50 minutes gushing about this fucking thing.
I'm not quite head over heels for it.
You're crazy.
But
I think you're in love and you're not accepting love into your heart. You just said you'd be the first one in line for the sequel.
I'll be the first one in line.
Begrudgingly.
It's not the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. It's not the funniest movie I've ever seen. But the fact that they finally got Deadpool on the screen proper with a big studio behind it, I think is a small miracle unto itself. I just want to see them go a little more unhinged in Deadpool 2.
I think that I like this movie. I think it works. I recommend it. And I think that it falls into the line of what Marvel is doing, where every movie is a superhero something else hybrid, right? So Ant-Man was a superhero heist movie. Captain America 2 was a superhero like political thriller, and so Deadpool is like a superhero meta breaking the fourth wall, over the top violent sexual, rah crazy fest. You know what I mean? And like, I think you could save the pure superhero stuff for the Avengers and for like X-Men.
Yeah.
And you can every time we break it off. Also, what do you want in the sequel other than Cable?
Less of the swearing jokes, more of the kind of creative visual jokes, all of the broken hand, the hand growing back. Like when he's fast forwarding and then he's like masturbating, it's like, oh, you weren't supposed to see that. Fast forward that. They're really like just out there humor.
Yes.
I want to see a little more of that.
I want to see Wolverine.
Yeah,
Because
Wolverine would be fun.
they kept making references to Wolverine, and I thought that was really strong. Where like she takes off his mask, and then there's a picture of
the Hugh Jackman
Hugh Jackman from a magazine stapled to his face, and she's like, "What the hell?" She just like peels it off. I want to see more of that. I want to see a few more X-Men characters be added into this world, but I want Colossus and the teenager girl to get their due too.
True. Something I do want to add. Deadpool's mask was awesome.
Yes, it was. Very good.
You never see a mask be that expressive before. And I think that's always kind of an issue with superhero movies, is they're always behind a mask and you can only get so much into the character with the mask on. That mask is incredibly expressive and looks really cool.
As pro wrestling being nothing like reality, but at the same time being exactly like reality, shows you that a masked wrestler, even if you have a mask that's low tech, right? A pro wrestling mask made out of Lycra, you can get emotion out of it if you know what you're fucking doing. And I think a lot of people are not comfortable in masks. I think a lot of filmmakers don't know how to cheat it right? Like, you can do a lot with lighting. You can do a lot with subtle movements, you know what I mean? Like, in Deadpool, there's so many things that are expressed through his eyes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
His eyebrows.
Yeah. Which don't exactly exist.
Yeah.
They're just the ridges of his face.
But they're there, and you get so much more like humor and emotion out of that mask than so many others.
I think people need to up their game. It's like, listen, homie, we live in a comic book economy now when it comes to movies. Like 50% of the movies coming out are comic book movies, so we got to get our mask technology up.
Yep,
and quick.
This might be the first step.
Yeah, I think so.
Great mask.
Good stuff. Yeah, I think it was great. I couldn't recommend this movie more.
I hope it makes a lot of money. I just saw that it broke the Thursday and Friday February box office records, so that's a great sign.
Another thing I like about this movie is it's proof that the idea that this time of year is when you put all your duds out is stupid.
Like, you can actually put out something good. Grand Budapest Hotel came out in February 2 years ago. That was my pick of the year.
Right, and all the Hunger Games movies come out in April. You know what I mean? I think that people have realized that if you get behind a movie, it doesn't matter when it really comes out. I mean, listen, if you put something out the week before Star Wars or the week after Star Wars, or God forbid the day of Star Wars, you're sending it to its icy death.
Yep.
But all things considered, right? Take away the competition. There's no time of year that's worse than any other time of year, right? Like nothing like this in terms of a comic book movie, in terms of action movie, is coming out this weekend. Put it out this weekend. You know what I mean? And get behind it and promote it. To Fox's credit, there's really good billboards and advertisements for this movie. You know what I mean? Like
all kinds.
Skull, Pooh, and then the L.
Yep.
Funny. You got
the romantic poster.
Yeah, the romantic poster with the shimmery background. True Love Never Dies. Deadpool. I want to know what people who don't know what Deadpool, when they look at that, what do they see?
There were a few like Reddit posts of boyfriends sending that picture to their girlfriend, like, "Hey, want to see this movie?" And they're like, "Sure, absolutely, looks great. I love Ryan Reynolds." And then I want to see their reaction afterwards when they actually see Deadpool.
I would like to know. Inquiring minds want to know. All right.
Hey, thanks for the free souvenir glass, Fox. Appreciate it.
Hey, they looked out through you via the ArcLight. With the ArcLight.
With the purchase of a beer.
Buy your beer. Any last thoughts?
Go see Deadpool. Go support it. Again, it's not perfect, but it's a hell of a lot more fun than a lot of other superhero movies that are out there. So go support it. Ryan Reynolds worked 10 years on this thing. Give him a shout out.
Indeed. This podcast, hosted by Mr. Jibber Jabber, that's me. Written by Kev. Kev also hosted it. Kev.
That's me.
Music's by Jeff Russell. Keep it sexy, you sexy sexers, you. Until next time.
Work out those abs.